All right. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Happy Wednesday. I'm really excited for today's Winners Wednesday. As you can see, we've got a very familiar guest here, Miss Jaybee Hawkins. Good morning.
Hi, Micah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning to you too.
Thank you. And I know that we're missing one of our regulars, Mr. Ruben Garcia. He was having some technical difficulties, so hopefully he'll pop on soon because I know he's got a lot of great content to share with us. But today we have a really, really good topic that I'm excited about. And I think especially JB, as we're coming into this market shift and changing market and everybody's kind of reevaluating their business, they're looking at how they can streamline their business. And one of the ways that you can do that is by studying other successful entrepreneurs. So today's topic is how to basically the daily habits of top producers. So tell me, JB, you're obviously a top producer in your market in the top 100. What does that mean to you when you think of those daily habits and surrounding yourself by other top producers? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think a lot of times when you have a training over habits and mindset, I think, it's going to be some, magic pill or something. And it never is. It is consistency. It is
Mhm.
doing the small things over and over, figuring out the things that are working in your business and just being super consistent in doing them. So, we have about 4 to 5 things that are just non negotiables in our days
Mhm.
as far as production goes. And it's just the really small things, but we're very consistent.
Well, we always hear that consistency matters, right? And it's that compound effect. It's the little wins that you do every single day that compound over time, and we don't realize it. And one of my favorite quotes that I hear over and over again is, "If you're not willing to commit to something for a lifetime, don't commit to it for a day." So a lot of times, I think as entrepreneurs, we get distracted or we start something and we try it out for 30 days, maybe even 6 months, but we don't see that instant gratification, right? So then we just stop doing it and we say it doesn't work. And at the end of the day, building a true business does take consistent efforts over time. One of the other things, and I don't know if this is something that you guys do with your team, but I've noticed has really helped us in our business, and I learned this years and years ago, is do the most undesired task first,
Yeah.
right? So I think a lot of times we try to get in there and we do the fun things, the things that we want to do first thing in the morning. But then what happens is kind of mentally, you're thinking about all the things that you haven't done, right?
That's right.
Or the things that you need to do that you know that you need to do. And I even talked to this about with my oldest son who's homeschooling, is he'll start routing off all the things that he needs to do for the day. And I'm like, you're sitting there talking about it more than you could have already gotten it done, right? So what does that look like for you on a daily schedule? How do you get those undesired tasks completed first?
Well, so I learned this probably 4 or 5 years ago. One of the very first things that I do to start my day is I typically work out in the morning, but when I'm home from that, I will come in, workout clothes looking like a hot mess, and I will spend about 30 to 45 minutes planning my day. And I feel like that's it's 7 in the morning when I'm doing this, so my phone's not ringing, I'm not getting emails. It's just
Right.
a very quiet time for me to kind of go over, mentally prepare for the day. Is there anything that I can do right now to kind of be more prepared for any meetings or calls or things that I'm going to do throughout the day?
Mhm.
I think that I can speak for most real estate agents that if you're doing business at a very high level, a
Right.
big part of that is consistent prospecting. And, it's not everybody's favorite thing to do. It's a little mundane. It's, it's very repetitive. And so, but it's such a critical part of building a business. And so, that's one of the things that not only I do as far as production, and then I have my team do, is we're getting those calls knocked out of the way very
Mhm.
first thing in the morning. So by 11 o'clock, so we, time block that into something that looks like from 8 to 10 or from 9 to 11. Uh, but we have done the most, in my opinion, the most income producing activity very the very beginning of the day. So by 11 o'clock, we all feel very accomplished and like we just ate the frog.
Well, and I think you made a really, really good point that I want to highlight here. And sorry, I was messaging Ruben on the back end. He's still trying to log in here, so hopefully we get him. He's having some camera issues. But one thing that I want to highlight that you mentioned is when you get those undesired tasks, whether that be prospecting or what have you, that you feel like you've conquered the day. So
Yeah.
it's noon my time. You get done, you finish your prospecting, you finished all the undesired tasks that kind of like you said, the main mundane task, and then you're like, oh, it's 11, 12 o'clock and I've already conquered the day. Whereas
Yes.
if you do the opposite, you do the fun stuff first, right? The fun task, and then that you need to do the prospecting, you're going to be dragging in the afternoon, like, oh my gosh, I still have to do this, and it just mentally bogs you down. So we talked about getting the mundane tasks task done first, consistency, how important consistency is. And then the other two that I heard you talk about that I'd like to highlight here is prospecting, right? Prospecting is key for top producers. And then also, just those income producing activities. So let's kind of highlight the prospecting a little bit. How do you guys consistently prospect? How do you motivate your team to consistently prospect? Because I think as real estate agents, we know that's something that we need to be doing, but it's just one of those things that like you said, it's not fun, so
Yeah.
it's easy to not do with those tasks.
Well, I think with prospecting, you get a lot of rejection. You have to get very comfortable with being rejected and being told
Right.
no and quit calling me and, all those things. So I think you have to start with your goals in mind. Like, why are you getting up doing this? Um,
Mhm.
so I'm a person who writes goals down every day, every week, every month. I mean, I've got a journal that I set my monthly goals. So I get really clear on my goals. So first of all, I think you have to have that in mind. And that's really what is the driver for our team is, if you're just coming in to make calls, the results, your energy is not going to be there. You're not going to be consistent with it. But if you've got a reason behind it, it changes everything. So, we're really calling for sell by owners. We're calling expires. We're calling from our database. We're not only calling from our database, it is a daily goal to add people to our database. So, make new friends on Facebook, engage with people. So we get that done. The goal is to have it done by noon, no exceptions. And the way that it makes me feel, especially as a leader, and is it doesn't matter what happens in my day after 12 o'clock, no matter what comes my way, I've already done the brunt of my day. And so I can take a call, I can help an agent, I can do what I need to do because I've already eaten the frog.
No, I love that. And one of the things, like I said, again, you just mentioned it, is it has to be done by noon and it's non-negotiable. So I heard you talk about some non-negotiables earlier, and then you said it again that, non-negotiable prospecting has to be done by noon. So I think
Yes.
that's really important, is you just have to know your why. You have to know why you're making the call. Energy is a big one. You mentioned you have to have the energy. Otherwise, you're just, if you've got a really low energy and you're making phone calls, you're probably going to have a lower conversion rate, right? And
Absolutely.
so Tony Robbins always says it best. I think we're always focusing on the strategy and the how to. That's only 20% of it. 80% of it is your mindset and your energy. So if you get that right, honestly, you can conquer the world. I do want to give a shout out real quick to your friend Katie, our
I,
friend Katie,
yes.
in Tulsa, another top 100 agent in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Good morning. If you guys are watching this live and you have any questions for JB or myself or Ruben, if he's able to pop on, please go ahead and put it in the comment section below, and we'll try to get to it. So we talked about how important the daily prospecting is. And one of the things that, in real estate that I think a lot of us don't realize is real estate operates in 90-day cycles, right?
Yes.
So if you're busy right now, I guarantee you, if you look 90 days ago, and if you look at the prospecting activities that you did 90 days ago, you're kind of reaping the benefit, the fruit, if you will, of the efforts that you put in 90 days ago.
Yes.
Now, on the flip side, if you're slow, then you have to look at, did I prospect consistently 90 days ago? And I think that's one of the things that, real estate agents get on that what we call the roller coaster, right, JB, is they
Yeah.
start getting all their transactions. And then what happens? They close and they become unemployed again, and then they got to start the prospecting all over again. So it's just this vicious cycle. Whereas
Right.
if you did it consistently, you'd have a more consistent business. We want to give a shout out to Nikki as well. She said, "Good morning, good morning, morning. Hi." Um, the other thing I want to highlight that you talked about is what we call IPAs, income producing activities.
Yes.
So for those that are watching, maybe that's a new term. Can you kind of explain, JB, what an IPA is?
So in our world, I mean, it's the things that are going to produce income, right? So that's prospecting, whether it be from your database, your center of influence, your, we do a lot of expireds and FISBOs. So it's doing the activities consistently, kind of around those things. So that's kind of what we consider, going on a listing appointment is considered that, showing homes. So, I always tell my team, if you're not on an appointment physically showing or on a listing appointment physically showing, your only other thing that should be happening during working hours is prospect. And that really avoids you doing this. I mean, a lot of commission, no commission.
Yeah, it's
Money,
hamster wheel, right?
we don't want we don't want that in our business. We want the consistency, and so that comes from every single day, 2 hours. I mean, do it, get it over with in the morning. And how I've always kind of structured my business is this can't always happen this way because we have to kind of adhere to our client schedules, but for the most part I try to do all my prospecting, all my paperwork in the morning. In the afternoon is strictly for field time. That's if I've got a show, if I've got to do inspections. I never schedule, if I have control over it, I never schedule inspections in the morning. That is my money time. That's when I'm doing those income producing property or income producing activities. Yeah.
Right, right. Absolutely. And I think, as a real estate agent, it's easy because we're wearing 100 different hats, right? So it's
Absolutely.
easy to kind of get caught up in the admin work or the paperwork, which really leads me into my next question about leverage. So we hear about income producing activities, we hear about high leverage activities. And so if somebody's wanting to leverage and maybe stop doing some of the lower hourly, activities, how do they know which tasks to basically leverage and give out and which ones to do personally?
So the first place that I would start, and this is kind of controversial, so this is just my opinion, is
It's okay. We're here for that.
yeah, I don't care where you are in your real estate career, if you're brand new or if you're seasoned. I'm a firm believer the first person that you should hire is a transaction coordinator. Because once you get that file and contract, there's all these things that have to be done. I feel like that's the easiest thing to leverage. And, there's plenty of people. I've got a lady that she literally she does this all the time. That's all she does. And so instead of me working on a file or doing this or doing that, I can spend those hours that I would spend, writing up a TRR or this or that. I can spend it on more prospecting. So I'm able to bring in more income, help more people.
I love that. And I want to give a shout out real quick to Maria. She said, "Good morning. Hi. Good to see you." Again, if you're watching this and have any questions for JB or myself, go ahead and comment below. Give us a heart, give us a like. So talking about, leverage, and one of the things that I've always kind of followed to be true is it's one of the simplest ways that you can kind of document your daily activities, and then, get a piece of paper, draw a vertical line, and then write on one piece of paper the tasks that absolutely have to be. So I've got like a fuzzy here, it's driving me nuts. One of the tasks that absolutely has to be done by you. It's not something that you can delegate. And then on the other side of the piece of paper, write down everything that you can delegate. And by the end of the day, you've almost created a team manual, if you will, which is something that you need to have if you're going to have other team members, if you're going to have a TC, if you're going to have admin or what have you. A lot of people want to hire it, for example, a TC, JB, and maybe you can talk to this of, okay, well, I hired somebody, Now what do I do? And one of the easiest ways that I've said, I'm like, you just need to document the process and almost create an operations manual, if you will.
That's right. Yeah. And the reason I love to hire a TC first is especially for like newer agents coming on, or somebody who doesn't feel like, okay, I really don't need a full on assistant, is that TC is paid per transaction. So
Right.
you're not on the hook for an hourly rate, and then, you have a slow month. So that's one of the reasons I really enjoy. I really think that hiring a TC should be your first hire, and then as your business grows, um, a personal assistant or an executive assistant.
Right. And so, JB, if somebody's hiring a TC, and maybe this is a TC that needs some training, that doesn't have experience, how do you go about even knowing where to start as far as hiring that TC and training them?
Well, I know here in my market, first of all, she has a business. She does a lot of marketing. She's great. So in this market, and she works all over, the state. I think she has a couple agents in other states as well. But there's also companies that have virtual assistants that are trained in transaction coordination. So I use a company. I've just started with them. I've been with them for about 3 weeks now. I think they're awesome. I don't use the company for a transaction coordinator, but I do use it for my personal assistant. And the company is called Sphere Rocket. They work with all different brokerages. They're amazing. And you can kind of go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And so that's where I would start, is maybe using a virtual, or just look around in your market. There could be an agent who doesn't want to do it full time. He just likes the paperwork aspect better. So there's many options when it comes to that.
I love it. Awesome. Hey, good morning, Alex. Thank you so much for the shout out. So Alex said, great advice, focus on income producing activities. So again, as you're doing your day-to-day tasks, maybe you look at the end of the day and you didn't get everything done that you had hoped that you would get done. I would almost kind of mentally reevaluate the day and see where, you kind of derailed. Were the things that could have been delegated, things that could have waited, which really leads me to my last question here, JB, is we always hear about time blocking, which I think time blocking is incredibly important. But there's also people like myself that don't necessarily like time blocking, but I do what I call priority blocking.
Yes.
So I always make sure, I always have a list of things that have to get done for the day, and that's non-negotiable. So what does that look like for you and your team?
Well, I am a time blocking crazy person. My team crazy. If they're watching, I am like, put it in the calendar, do this, do that. But I love time blocking because I am a little ADD. It's just how God made me. And so I have to stay on track. I do get the prospecting out of the way first thing in the morning. But I think you've got to figure out what's important to you and put that into your weekly, daily calendar. I'm an investor. I have a certain time of the week that I time block to look for investments. And I time block my workouts. I time block my prospecting. I time block when I can take meetings. So that way I feel like there's some direction. And I've done this for probably 6 or 7 years. And what I've learned over time is when I go to bed the night before and I can look at my day, it kind of mentally prepares me, depending on the how busy I am, what I need to do, how I need to prepare in the morning. So everything goes in my calendar. So I'm a fan of time blocking for sure.
No, I love that, and I do think it's important, and I'm the same way to a degree. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist, right? I'll forget. So I almost will like time block. Like I have a list of follow-ups I have to do, and I just put follow-up, and then I put everything that I need to do within that. So, I think it's incredibly important, because otherwise, like I mentioned, it's easy to get derailed. So I think that's a lot of great advice, and things that we've seen as agents in the market and other top producers. But just to kind of recap is, and I'm going to pull up my list here, is of course consistency, right? Consistency always matters. doing those mundane tasks every single day, even when you don't feel like you want to. That's where you're going to have the breakthrough. Number two is getting the undesired task done first thing in the morning. So you mentioned prospecting is a huge one, and that has to be done non-negotiable before noon. Time or priority block. Of course, daily prospecting is going to help get you off that real estate roller coaster that we talked about. And last but not least is, of course, leverage. We all have the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The reason others can do more than others is because of the amount of leverage that they have. So I think that's a lot of great advice. JB, is there anything else that you would like to add to that?
Well, I just want to say to anybody watching this that, kind of the message that I'm sharing with my team right now is wherever you are in business, whether you're new or a seasoned agent, we are in the middle of a shift. And I think these next few months are going to tell a lot. Whatever you're doing, double down. If you're doing one open house a month, do 3. If you're calling for 2 hours, call 3 to 4 hours. I think this market is the market that I feel that I've been in the majority of my career, but I think we had it so good for the past 2 years. I think it's just very, very important to get consistent, time block, figure out what your income producing activities are, and then forget the rest. Literally, get down to business and get focused.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And so it's a lot of great advice. Guys, it's, as you mentioned, there is no secret sauce. This is not rocket science. At the end of the day, this is what everyone is doing, and it works. It's a proven model. You just have to do it. So now, speaking of, the market shift and going into, we're obviously in the last quarter and going into 2023. I do want to give just a quick shout out that we're going to do a bulletproof business planning Zoom next Wednesday afternoon. So there is an Eventbrite page. So go ahead and click that if you'd like to attend this free webinar. JB, thank you so much. I appreciate you for joining us. I know we didn't have Ruben on today. He had some technical difficulties, but nevertheless, we had a lot of great information. So I certainly appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me, Micah.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye-bye.